as with all of your films, it's very character driven. How much does it make it interesting for you that it's kind of a puppet mastering all the time?
Puppet mastering? I don't feel like I feel like the least puppet mastery director there is. I feel like I'm trying to embrace choices, you know, that come from my characters, and I feel like, you know, the difference between tragedy and accidents in movies is when characters make choices, you know, and I feel like my characters in my movies always make choices. Sometimes they don't make the proper choices, you know. The choices they make are normally emotional choices. Those emotional choices, I feel like, have reverberations and consequence to them, and I'm kind of obsessed with consequence. I grew up Catholic, and so I kind of feel like everything I do is a sin, and so my characters are like normally good people who sin quite a bit.
Oh, it's all the more interesting in this one, and it does inform the narrative of the movie. So how much was the tone important to the story because of the choices they made?
How much was the what?
The tone.
The tone, yeah, I mean, anytime you make a movie, you're trying to go into a world, you know. You want that screen to be a place where you journey to another world. But and with this world, I really wanted to go to like a really primal human landscape. I wanted it to, you know, took place in the 1920s in Australia, but for all I was concerned, it could have been 100 years in the future or 200 years in the past. It was, to me, there's a timeless human quality to it. It could have been the Garden of Eden for all I knew. I just wanted to explore raw human emotions against this epic backdrop, and I wanted to explore the seemingly insignificant things. Yeah, that's what I always do in my movies. I'm trying to find the extraordinary in the ordinary, or I'm trying to find the ordinary in the extraordinary. So this is like these moments that are insignificant. They mean nothing. This movie, the story, like, means nothing over in the big scheme of things. They're like small, tiny human relationships, but to the characters on screen, they're epic. In my life, my relationship with my wife and my kids doesn't mean anything to anyone else, but to me, it's huge, it's epic, and so that's what I'm kind of trying to do with my movies, is get into epic places of insignificance.
Well, epic location though, so tell us a little bit about the locations it was shot on and how much it was important to telling the story.
You know, the movie's about isolation, and it takes place on an island, and when I was a kid, I used to always think that people lived on islands because when people used to come visit my family, we would change. We would become like the most perfect versions of ourselves, and then people would leave and we'd go back to being real again. And I've tried to make it my life's work and my mission as a filmmaker to kind of explore what happens inside families and what happens inside homes, and try to explore the secrets and intimacies of families. And with this movie, it was that intimacy and that metaphor of living on an island made literal. And so I had to find a place that was literally isolated, and I found this location called Cape Campbell in New Zealand, and it was an hour and a half down a bumpy dirt road from any other living person. And I told the studio, I said that I found the place after 4 months, and they said no. They said you're going to spend 3 hours a day traveling to and from set. And I said, well, why don't we just live there? And they said, impossible. You can't house 70 people on this little place. We can't afford it. And I said, well, why don't I just cut it and have 12 people there? And they said, well, who's going to set up your green screen? I said, well, we're not going to have a green screen. They said, well, who's going to set up your lights? I said, well, we're not going to have lights. And eventually I convinced them I could do this with almost like a documentary crew. And they said, okay, fine, but you're never going to convince your actors to live there. And I called up Michael and I called up Alicia, and I said, I need you guys to live on this island with me. And they said, no. They said it's not necessary. And I said, well, I said, look, as a filmmaker, all I can give you is experience. I don't have like the meaning of life. I can't whisper something in your ear and make the light bulb go off and give you a great performance. You're a great actor. I was like, but what I can give you is experience, and I want to give you that experience. And so, did you ever hear that story of Dustin Hoffman and Laurence Olivier with Marathon Man? Apparently Dustin Hoffman was like staying up for days upon days to try to get crazy for his role, and Laurence Olivier said, try acting, kid, it's easier. And so that's what they kind of told me, Michael and Alicia. And then they said, okay, we'll give it one night. We'll try it out for one night. That one night turned into 5.5 weeks, and I had to literally pull them from the set. because we had an experience. And I think what the movie does is we have this, I think, undeniable story on the screen, and the moments that happen between people are absolutely real. You know, they're absolutely true moments. I'm interested in finding a place where acting stops and behavior begins. I'm looking for a place where story stops and life begins. And I feel like I'm a documentarian of fiction.